Welcome to Season 4 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor, and each week I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and product creators to decode the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the retail industry. So grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax and listen in to Season 4 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. Today I'm joined by a guest who is an incredibly experienced retailer. This highly motivated, passionate leader has a proven track record of transforming organizations and implementing effective retail strategies. However, it was his passion for community development and social justice that led him to move across into the charity retail sector. Since then, he's worked tirelessly to promote the importance of charity retail and the positive impact it has on local communities. He's also a strong advocate for the role of charity shops in promoting sustainability, secondhand, and reducing waste. Mark Sweeney, Chairperson of Charity Retail Ireland, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Thanks, Melissa. Good to be here.
I'm delighted, as I said to you earlier, Mark, I'm really thrilled that we get to have this conversation. It's such an important one. And I think it's a part of the sector that really kind of goes, well, it's gone untapped in many respects and we tend to forget about. So before we kick off, in the age-old fashion of the Retail Tea Break podcast, in the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which I'm told is about 2 minutes, tell us a bit about you and the organisation.
So I suppose my background has been commercial retail. I started off as I worked in a photo lab. I moved on to being a projectionist in a cinema. I worked for Extravision for a number of years. GameStop would have been, I suppose, the bulk of my career. A short stop off in Harvey Norman, and then I happened upon Oxfam, which got me into the charity sector and circular fashion. And then I suppose a year after joining, when I joined Oxfam, I was asked would I join what was then the Irish Charity Shops Association, the ICSA, just to sit on the steering group, which I agreed to. And I suppose 15 months later, I was proposed as chair and became chair, and I have been chair ever since. So look, as it was known, it was the ICSA. But Charity Retail Ireland, we rebranded about 18 months ago now, I think, maybe just a little bit less than that. And we're an all-island umbrella group that for charities who operate shops to fundraise for the causes that they support. We provide information, support, networking opportunities. We advocate for certain rights for the charity shops as well. Our members range from large national and international charities such as Oxfam to local community-based charities. We have one down in Clarehaven, which is a fantastic shop, but a small operation, but very big in a sense of what it does. All our members are registered with the Charities Regulator or with the Charities Commission in Northern Ireland, and all members have to sign up to a code of charity retailing as a condition of their membership as well. So it's a big group that are kind of heavily involved in the charity sector in Ireland.
That's incredible. And again, a charity shop is seen on every main street in the country. It's in every town, they're in every city. And again, I think we're almost blindsided to the fact they're there sometimes, unless we're donating or unless we need them. So it's incredible to hear that you've managed to get everyone under one roof in that respect. The big global ones, the smaller Irish ones, and then the tiny independents. And you were telling me then that these charity retailers coming together feels very different to commercial mainstream retail, but in a good way, because they support each other, or you all, when you come together, support each other in quite a different way because you actually work together.
Yeah, so we have a steering group, and it's comprised of people from different parts of charity. So like I said, I'm a district retail manager for Oxfam. We would have finance people from other charities. We would have shop managers from some of the smaller charities, but we meet once a month. And the idea is that we discuss what's happening in the sector, how we can learn from what's happening, how we can learn and grow together. So we share information. A lot of the smaller charities will learn a lot from the bigger charities, and vice versa as well. As a big charity, you can learn a lot from what a smaller charity is doing, and the effects and how certain parts of the country do with charity retail, and where is popular locations and where is not, which, as I said to you before, coming from my background in commercial retail, it's unheard of. I mean, as much as commercial retail like to think that they're all in the same boat and they're all working together to the same cause, there is a lot of competition there, and they don't like to share certain information. Look, there's competition within charity as well, but it's friendly competition. We're all there to work for one cause, which is to fundraise for whatever cause that charity supports. So it is unique that we share the information, but the information is shareable information. It's nothing that's, you know, confidential to anyone or put anyone at risk. It's good traditional retail information, best practice, and how to maximize what we're doing as a whole.
Gosh, it's definitely something the mainstream commercial retailers could learn from. Best practice there. What would that look like then to maybe an independent coming along who needs a bit of support?
So, I mean, through our website, we have a very robust website that we just, as I said, relaunched. It would be charityretail.ie, and on that website alone, there are information of how to set up a charity shop once you're a registered charity, of course, and the steps that you need to take, how to go about getting volunteers, links to volunteer organizations, and then also, like I said, best practice of merchandising, of how to deal with donations, how to deal with the public, how to promote your charity. We've moved into social media. We had a great social media manager who's just finishing up with us, Emily, and we are actually looking for a social media manager at the moment. So it's become a huge part of what we do. We do workshops of telling shops how to promote themselves on Instagram and on Facebook, and there's a lot to it. So I mean, where it comes down to the resources that the association offer, there on the website, but then to get involved with the steering group or just to reach out to the steering group and talk to us, we will answer any questions that you have. And we have a very experienced secretary who's been with the association since it started, Linda Ward, and she has been the gatekeeper of all that information for over 20 years now. And as I said, it is a great treat to sit under and learn it as well, you know.
Fantastic. The steering group sounds amazing, but what an incredible resource, because it's interesting there, even the words you're using, like you could have just been describing another commercial retailer. So merchandising standards, standards in the shop, all the different ways of doing things. Like that's the norm. And again, I think that's going to dispel a lot of myths today, that people don't necessarily see charity shops like that, which I think is fascinating, that actually you are just becoming as good as, and so you should be, the same as commercial retail, to use your words there. But many charity retailers, on the other hand, are way ahead of the rest of the retail industry when it comes to things like efficiencies, cost savings, recycling clothes, obviously to stop them going to landfill. What can you teach the rest of the industry then, where they're way behind what you're doing?
Well, I mean, look, it starts with why, and that's like, you know, obviously Simon Sinek's book about, you know, start with why is very important. I mean, you look at why a charity does what it does, not what it does, because that's self-explanatory. It raises money for the cause it supports, but why we do it in terms of getting into the detail of, you know, we have, I mean, there's a common misconception out there about charity shops that we don't pay rents, that we don't pay rates because we're a charity. We do. If we want that space on the high street, we pay the going market rate for rents. We pay the same rates as anybody else. We pay the same overheads.
That's insane. Like, you said that to me a few weeks ago and I was dumbfounded, because again, it's another misconception that you get everything for free because you're in the charity sector. Yeah. But it's absolutely not. You're battling the same costs as the commercial guy next door to you on the main street.
Absolutely, and as you've pointed out, that some people see charity shops as lesser than, but as I said, we have the same rates, same overhead, same you know, everything. What I suppose we do more effectively than most is that management of costs, because we have to be very aware of how much it costs to run a shop, and it's about reducing those overheads, about reducing electricity usage. And you know, we've moved with the times. A lot of shops will have LED lighting now, which will obviously make a difference, but it's also about being able to save power. It's about being able to turn off things that aren't being used at night when it's not being used. And a lot of retailers, again, I can speak from my own experience, don't necessarily do that. They, you know, we have staff that come in and you do your job and you go home in the evening. But I think there is a real benefit to educating your team about what little steps can do and what little measures can do. We traditionally run on a team of volunteers. Any charity shop will run on a team of volunteers with maybe one paid staff member or two paid staff members, depending on the size of the shop, if it's a very busy shop. So being able to, I suppose, speak to a volunteer and help them understand how to save costs and to understand that it's a benefit to the business and to the organization to be able to reduce costs. That's a huge one. But those people that we find are very important. I mean, the shop manager that we will find for a charity shop is key. I mean, we always say that recruitment isn't about the skill set. It's about the mindset. It's about that person who works hard. I mean, I always describe charity shops as mini department stores because that's what they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to deal with every type of product, and we have to deal with one of every type of product.
Yeah.
So we're not dealing with a range of products where you can come in and you go, all right, we're going to buy for this season and this is what we have. We depend on the kindness of strangers, to put it simply. So all those things factored in, there are a lot. You might think, well, what can commercial retail learn from charity sector? It is about small change. It's about small steps, about being able to reduce, reuse, and be efficient with your staff as well.
I think that's an incredible message. And also, and I'd never thought of it that way, you're thrown this curveball every day of like a surprise of stock coming through the front door, as it is in your case. What's that like from a merchandising perspective, or even from these incredible volunteers who just, they get what they're wonderfully donated, but then of course they have to make that look slightly commercial in store.
Yeah, I mean, so I suppose that's where we say with Charity Retail Ireland and with each charity, you have to look at merchandising in a different way because you don't know what product you're going to get. You get a bag, a box, and you go through it and you figure out what's sellable, you figure out what needs to be recycled. And then once you have what's sellable, you have to go through the process of, identifying if it's worth a lot of money or if it's not worth a lot of money or if it's just a standard piece of clothing. And I suppose it's implementing those standards of having a chain of stores and being able to say in and around that if you walk in and you find a dress, that it will be priced roughly the same, but you're dealing with many individuals doing that and the dress won't be the same. So the standards that we use, we color block, we size cube. So color blocking is the best way for us to merchandise because it gives the impression of a range and it also allows the customer to shop for what they want. And then obviously we will merchandise bottom half clothing and top half clothing individually. So you get that range and you get a nice looking shop without having a range of products. You have a perceived range of product, but it is a challenge and every day is a challenge. And I always say, if you wanted to gain experience in the retail sector, where you should come is charity, because you will learn so much. You will learn how to think on your feet. You will learn what the value of something is, and there's a lot of research that goes into it. And our most successful members in Charity Retail Ireland and our most successful shops in Oxfam will always have a manager who is engaged and really digs down and finds, like, we get wonderful stuff, amazing stuff that you wouldn't believe donated into our shops, and it's exciting every day. It really, I think for somebody who is working for us to have that passion and energy is really important.
I love that, especially at a senior level, but also, and coming back to something you said earlier, which fascinates me from a people perspective, and of course, big buzzword now, of course, within retail, it's this recruitment, retention, but thrown into that mix, then you have volunteers, but also, again, you have a very different customer base. Some might come to you once a year, some might be in every day. So you've got a very different mix or a wider scope of people generally, whether that's the internal customer or the consumer, the public coming in. That must be incredible for a charity shop manager or a regional manager like yourself to have to deal with all of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's the demographics that we deal with go from, well, then now they go from kids to, people who are in their 80s and 90s, and it's a huge demographic to have to cover as a shop. And look, charity shops are restricted because they're not massive spaces. Now we've tried to develop that over time, and we do realize that there are certain things that we need to deal with. But I mean, even for our volunteers, again, huge demographics. We go from transition year students, which is where we can start because of legalities, and they go all the way up to, I mean, we've had volunteers who've been 96,
Wow.
still coming in, and we do still have people well into their 80s now still even volunteering with us. And look, COVID had a big impact on volunteering in the shops, and people, I probably discovered that they led fuller lives or discovered hobbies and things, and didn't come back to volunteering. But that demographic even of volunteers now has shifted, where you won't have the long-term volunteer anymore. You more have the short-term volunteer that comes in for a period of time to, feel like they've done something, in the community or a socially responsible activity, which is volunteering. And it's great to see. And again, the customers are the same. I mean, we've seen such a huge shift in the demographic that shop in a charity shop. I tell a story about Georgia Street. Oxfam and Georgia Street is known for its vintage now.
It is, yeah.
And it's a great location, and it's one of those hidden gems if you are a vintage shopper. But we display our stock in the window. We dress the windows with an outfit, and it goes on sale every Saturday morning. And there will be queues outside Georgia Street on a Saturday morning, maybe 15 to 20 people queuing up for 2 outfits. And I was told a story by the manager and the deputy manager in that shop. Off one of the Saturday mornings, there was a pair of dungarees going on sale, and there was a queue of about 15 outside. And the first 5 in the queue wanted to buy this dungaree. And instead of where you normally see people battling and fighting on a Black Friday type scenario, the 5 people discussed the dungarees and decided which person it would suit best. They all tried it on. They all shared their Instagrams with each other, and they made the decision of who should buy it. And I just felt it was such a great story, because it just shows the shift in, I suppose, that socially aware, socially conscious consumer now. That's the kind of person that you're really trying to target. I think charity gets that more now than commercial retail. I think we get that consumer, because that person understands that charity shops have been doing sustainability longer than anybody. We've been doing sustainability before it was a word. It was before circular fashion became the hot topic. Charity shops were there. So I think the younger generation have really tapped into that now, and they've realized that. And like I've said it from day one when I came into charity, was everything you find in the charity shop is unique. There is nothing, you find, it might be 3 seasons old, it might be 10 seasons old. It doesn't matter. It's unique because nobody else has it. And the quality is better as well.
Oh, that really excites me. What an incredible story. But you're so right. And again, I love the fact that charity retail has really been turned on its head in that respect. Yeah, it's become trendy now to wear vintage or to hunt down these bargains, but you've always been there, and you've always been so reliable to be there. And as you said, the quality is there. That's another misconception that I love, the fact that we're breaking down that barrier now. So obviously, as I said, secondhand, vintage, I love that word, has become super trendy, and obviously quite commercial for years, which is brilliant. What else is happening then? Kind of how is the charity sector kind of, apart from this, or maybe including the fact that vintage has become so cool right now, and this conscious consumer, as we've all tried to become, is now your mainstream customer? What's business like in general in the sector at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's again, like standard retail. It's good in some, very good. I mean, post pandemic, trade had become very strong. But like anywhere, there are certain pockets and certain charities that do struggle. And I mean, it's really important that we recognize that. And I think, like you said, there's the conscious consumer, and I think that's great. But I do think there are a lot of people out there who still have the misconceptions about a charity shop. That's the old, dusty, dingy, smelly shop that that you don't want to go in and be seen shopping in, or people think that you're poor if you shop in a charity shop, or that that's what you need. Charity shops, they serve 2 purposes, and I always say this, and it goes across the board. You have charity shops who are there for people who need affordable clothing and affordable items. And then you have charity shops that are there to raise money for people who need those things. And that's the difference. The charity shop isn't always about, finding a cheap item. It's about finding a good item or a unique item. And I think if anybody out there who hasn't been in a charity shop recently pops in, you'll see a difference. You'll be amazed at what you find. So like, the sector is good, but there are still people out there who struggle. And I think, again, to go back to your conscious shopper, your conscious consumer, I think one of the big trends that we've noticed is, while online shopping has become really popular, I think especially with millennials and Gen Z, what also is popular is the social shopping, which is, yes, you'll do your research online, and yes, you'll look into what's out there in the market. But then when you go shopping with your friends, and it becomes a social activity. You like that story I told you about the five people who didn't know each other, but it became a social activity because they all connected afterwards. They all connected through it. There was another story about two girls who wanted the same dress, but it turns out it was a two-piece dress, and one of them only wanted the top and the other one wanted the bottom. So
No
compromise.
way.
Yeah, so there's always that. That's where I feel, again, it's a learning that commercial retail can take. And I'm not saying, look, you can walk into to any high street retailer and have that story. It's unique to the charity sector, but there are learnings there. I mean, I think shopping, one of the risks with COVID was that we would all slip away into this online shopping. Shopping is a tactile process. Retail is tactile. It always has been to me. No matter what you're selling, it's nice to go and see it and feel it. And charity is definitely that.
And I also think, by the way you're describing it there's something incredibly emotional about, whether it's that, thankfully, that you're helping the charity themselves by buying a few pieces, or whether it's that connection, as you said, that those five people have over those dungarees. That's an emotional connection. That's something, do you know what? A lot of retailers pay a lot of money to try and create in store, whereas you have it. The charity retail sector has it in bucket loads. It really does.
Everything that's bought in a charity shop has a story, and that's what I find fascinating. It is the story behind the item. So like you walk in, buy a new piece of clothing. There's no story. Yes, the designer designed it, and yes, that might be the story. But there is a history to a piece that you buy in a charity shop, be it from a book to a piece of clothing to a vase to whatever it is. There's a story to that, and I think people now more than ever love to know that story, love to explore the history of something. And like I said, and that's where vintage has become really popular as well, as you said earlier, is because it has a history, it has a story. Now, look, vintage is anything after 2003 or before 2003 now, which is the scary thought. But
Yes.
it's, it is definitely, there's definitely a resurgence in that. And I think charity shops, again, have always been a place for vintage. Before vintage shops were cool, before it was a thing to find, it was definitely, you could always find vintage in a charity shop.
How incredible. And then on the flip side of that, any challenges, kind of what are the issues maybe that you're facing right now within the sector?
So I suppose, look, we are predominantly fashion retailers. I mean, that's the core of what charity is. And like, look, the challenges for any fashion retailer are fast fashion. And it's a little bit different because fast fashion has been seen a decline as such. But I think, consumer habits need to change, but manufacturing habits need to change as well. And what we find now is where previously we would be inundated with older clothes that people don't wear, we are inundated with fast fashion. And that is a challenge because the person that shops with us is a conscious shopper, or is trying to find a good quality item for lesser than it would be on the high street. But if you have a lot of fast fashion, that becomes a challenge because people are seeing a lot of fast fashion in their shops. So it's finding that mix and finding that compromise, because you don't want that fast fashion going to landfill either. So it's about recognizing, and changing behaviors. And I think that's the biggest challenge for all retail, not just charity, is that change of behavior. And it starts at the very, very, very top, which is manufacturing and reducing what we are. There's a scary statistic I heard about a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago, that on the planet now, there is enough clothes to do us for 3 generations right now. So the manufacturing continues and continues, and it's great to see. Look, there are some retailers out there who are really active in finding ways to turn 6 jumpers into 1 jumper, or into a cardigan or whatever, through recycling and breaking down the fabrics. But the biggest challenge is finding ways to break down those fabrics, and is to stop people using raw materials again, and stop using fresh materials again, because that's what happens. And look, one of the other challenges, and it's fantastic to see, is people reselling themselves. I mean, that's, you see the increase in popularity of Depop, and you have eBay, and then you have we have our own platforms within the charity sector with Haru and Thriftify, and and people using Shopify. And resale is great, and it's great to see so many people, and COVID really highlighted that. I'm at home, I can't do anything, but I can sell the stuff I have, and it's brilliant, and I love to see it. But what I would say to anyone out there who does do that is, if it doesn't sell, if you can't sell it, think of the charity shop, because yes, you've tried to sell it and that's brilliant, but if you can't, donate it, and they're the challenges we face. And look, it's a little bit different, but it's no different in some ways.
And it's so important. But again, at least you're leading with that message, which, like, to be honest, a lot of commercial retailers, it's a bit of head in the sand for some of them at the moment. I think they're not willing to even face that issue of so much stock, or as you said, materials going to landfill. So yeah, no, it's wonderful to see you leading from the front there. So final question then, what's coming up for you in Charity Retail Ireland over the next few months?
So I always say for Charity Retail Ireland, what we've decided for 2023 is this is going to be the year of the partnership or collaboration. And look, we're always looking to partner with people who are looking to do sustainability and their green credentials the right way. So that's other retailers, and it's not just retailers, it's other organizations, other corporations. There's so much we can offer. And I think people don't know about us, but we're here, and you can reach out to us, and we're willing to partner, and we're willing to talk to anybody about how we can effectively make a change in their business and in our own business. And so, like, we decided this year that we were going to launch Charity Retail Week, which is the first time we've ever done it. We've always had a day in the year where we recognize the shops through awards, and we've done an event where we get people to come along and do some workshops. So this year we've expanded it out, and it'll be the first time. So we're tippy toes. We're a voluntary organization, so we have to take our time, and we're looking for sponsors as well. So if anybody wants to jump in and sponsor us, can sponsor any part of the week. We'd love to hear from people, and I'll give you some details at the end. But the idea behind Charity Week was to highlight environmental, social, and economic impact that charity retail has in local communities and nationwide and beyond, and I suppose showcase reuse as a fashion choice, and to create awareness of charity shops as a fashion destination, to move away from fast fashion. So, like I said, we have a number of events, and they are, I suppose, charity retail focused. So our main event is on the 26th of April, which will be called The Gathering, and that's in the Rediscovery Centre in Dublin. And that's a full day event where we will run some workshops. We will do our award ceremony, and we do a World Cafe as well, which is to discuss the challenges that charity faces and how we can help that. And it's a great event to do that. And this year we've also done 2 satellite events, which will happen in Cork on the 24th and happen in Galway on the 25th. And that's they are networking events, I suppose, to bring in all the charities in those locations who might not be able to come to Dublin, because look, there are restrictions when it comes to charity. We know we're funded by the public, and we have to be very aware of that. So we try and localize some of the events as well. And there will be smaller events going on throughout, individual charities as well. And then the idea we had was to try and focus each day within the week on something in the charity. So we have Monday, which will be the 24th, will be donation day, which is to highlight, and we'll do this through social media, to highlight what charity shops look for, what's a good donation, what's a bad donation, because there's a common misconception out there too that charity shops won't take everything.
Yeah,
give them a call, talk to them. I mean, you don't know what you might not find attractive or sellable might not be the case. Let us decide. I always say that, bring it into us. And then the Tuesday will be a volunteer day, which we'll put out some information there about volunteering. Wednesday, as that's our gathering, will be collaboration day. And again, as I said, that's what this year is all about. It's just about joining up with other organizations. We're speaking to Retail Excellence. We've been speaking to Retail Integration. We've charity or partners within the textile recycling industry, Cookstown Recycling and Alltex, who are great supporters of what we do. So that's very important to us. And then one of the big things that we launched during Charity Week, or will be launching this Charity Week, is our impact survey, or our charity impact survey, which really highlights the impact that charity has, socially, financially, and environmentally on the whole island of Ireland. We'll be focused on Republic mainly this year, but there is the social impact, which will be covered on Friday. We will look at the environmental impact, which we look on the Saturday, and the circular economy day, which obviously ends out what we do. So look, there's a lot going on there, and we have launched a corporate partnership program, which has different tiers. We have a directory, we have people who are long-term sponsors, we have people like RFC, which are courier and courier and car park services and security services. and we have a lot of other partners who are looking to come on board with us as well. So we hope that the Charity Week will start the conversation around the charity retail sector and the impact that it has and how it can help, I suppose, all retail, so yeah, exciting.
It sounds incredible. And it's only obviously a couple of days ahead of us now. So I would urge anyone listening, anyone watching, because we know there are key people that listen to the Retail Tea Break podcast, get in touch with Mark. Don't put it off. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Connect certainly with the website, and I'll put all that in the show notes. But don't wait, is what I'd say. You've heard an incredible amount about what the organization does, how important the sector is, how it can actually support bigger retail. So I would absolutely urge people listening now to get in touch, and also keep an eye on the social media channels next week. So Mark, give us the website.
So the website is very easy because we've rebranded. It's www.charityretail.ie, simple as. And on there, we do have information about our corporate partnership program, and then we have our members area as well. As I said, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably where's the easiest thing to find me. Just search Mark Sweeney and you'll come across me. Or like I said, you can email me. You'll find my email addresses on the website. Or Linda Ward as well, who's our secretary. You can reach out to her through LinkedIn. And like I said, we're more happy to talk to anybody about what a partnership would look like, because there's different types of partnerships. We're not just isolated to one. We will talk to you and see what we can do, and we'd love to hear from people. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And you will, and I'll make sure of it. We will. And we'll also tag you across all of social media, and I'll make sure that we tag you and everything. So again, look out for Charity Retail Ireland across all social media, and then stay in contact on Charity Retail Week and see what's going on. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, please like and share it. Remember, you can also listen back to past Retail Tea Break podcast episodes on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And as Mark said, connect with him via LinkedIn and connect with myself as well if you haven't already. Follow Charity Retail Ireland and the Retailer Advisor across all social media channels. And I'll pop that website back up for you for Charity Retail Ireland in the show notes. Go and have a good look. It's a fantastic website, as Mark said. So Mark, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Melissa. It's been great to be part of the Retail Tea Break. So I'm going to go grab a cup of tea now myself. But thank you very much. It's been great to have an opportunity to speak to your listeners, and looking forward to hearing the episode.